My name is John Drexhage, and I'm Director of Climate Change with the International Council for Mining and Metals.
Yeah, the mining industry in general, in the climate change debate, have often been seen as the bad guys in the debate. What are you and your organisation doing to try to counteract that image?
Well,
and is the image justified?
I think that there's has to be recognized that there's challenges and opportunities for the mining industry when we're dealing with a low-carbon economy, when we're dealing with addressing climate change. And I think too often people aren't connecting the dots that's required, for example, for achieving a low-carbon economy. When we look at a wind turbine, we forget the fact that there's usually around 170 tons of coking coal inside that wind turbine as part of the material of making that. If we're looking at, for example, an electrical transportation, that's going to mean a huge increase in demand for copper. That all that's a hugely energy-intensive operation. So I think what we're here to do is saying, yes, we're definitely part of the solution. These materials don't come from nowhere. Neither is it an excuse for us for not taking actions. We simply want to have a very sober, adult-like discussion and conversation about how we can play the most proactive role that we can.
Scientifically, technologically, I mean, are we in a position where we can mine without causing, obviously there'll be a certain degree of pollution, but are we in a position where we can mine at a sustainable level?
That's still quite a ways off as far as if you're looking at the materiality issue. I think what we also have to do when we talk about sustainability is remember that this isn't just about the environment, and that when we're looking, for example, to the Rio Plus 20 conference that will be happening in May, we're going to be talking about the three pillars of sustainable development, which is social equity, economic growth, and environmental protection. And what we need is a very careful integration of those three elements. If we're simply going to be looking at one of them over the other, then I don't think we'll be going forward with a truly sustainable paradigm for development. And I think that'll be an important aspect to it. One of the areas that we are looking at is definitely seeing how we can take the materiality, how we can lessen the footprint in terms of the mining operations. It brings them no money. As copper becomes more and more scarce, however, it means that you're going to have to spend quite a bit more energy in getting the copper out of the rock formations. The days of available veins that are easily accessible in the earth are long gone. They're now very diffused within the rock formations. It takes a tremendous amount of energy and effort to take that out. That just gives you one example of the challenges that face us in that direction. So we have to address that in a very holistic manner.
You say you've recently produced a report or released a report with the 20 major mining companies on trying to address some of these issues. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, certainly. The program within the International Council of Mining and Metals was only formed about 9 months ago in May. It had the active engagement. We had a discussion of CEOs of all the major mining companies, Rio Tinto, BHP Billiton, Anglo American, Xstrata, just to mention a few, Vale, others. And they decided that we needed to become more strategic and proactive around the issue of climate change, developed a set of principles for governments should they decide to begin regulating greenhouse gas emissions, the ways to do it so that it makes sense. Also set up a series of commitments that all companies and members have taken that they will take to address greenhouse gas emissions, but also addressing adaptation. And finally, very much looking at issues around our challenges on measurement, reporting, and verification. And in terms of here at Durban, one of the real wants and concerns that we have is that if we're going to be dealing with such a fractured regime that we seem to be addressing, is that the reporting regimes are going to be hugely more complex for many of our members who have operations in many different countries. And so we want to make sure that there's as coherent a reporting and measurement system as possible coming out of Durban and future climate discussions.
I mean, do you feel perhaps because the mining industry in the past, or perhaps now as well, are seen as the bad guys, that you have difficulty in getting your message across to the environmental lobby, that they're not prepared to listen, they simply don't believe you?
First of all, I find that the environmental lobby, as it were, is not a homogenous group. It's a very heterogeneous group. And yes, there are some in there who have immediate assumptions about the role and profile of the mining industry that basically gives us no chance to start whatsoever. There are many others, however, who are extremely open, and in particular what I'm finding very interesting is with development NGOs. There's been a long tradition and history of the mining industry in working in close collaboration with development NGOs. We've been looking at social issues, indigenous rights issues, and working very closely with those groups. And so when when I'm in the developing countries, I'm working with many of those NGOs. They see us very much in a partnership mode.